Hi, everybody, and welcome. Looking forward to chatting with you about ERB writing, WRIIT, and the WRIIT library today. We're just going to give a moment or two for people to join, and just as soon as I see the numbers stop climbing, we will go ahead and get started. But again, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today for our presentation on ERB writing, WRIIT, and the WRIIT library. All right, it looks like the numbers have slowed down. So if any late joiners come in, we'll get started and they can just pick up where we are. Welcome, everybody. My name is Lisa Stern, and I am the Member Services Director who works with the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, and Midwest regions here at ERB. I am joined today by Kelly Bornman and Jason Lesnetsky, who also are Member Services Directors. Hopefully you know one of the three of us and work with us. And then we are also joined today by Glenn Molesky, our Chief Program Officer, who's going to share a little bit of insight on the impact of ERB writing. And also we are joined by Jan White from St. Patrick's School in Norfolk, Virginia, who's going to share a little bit about her experience with the WRAP program. So with all of that, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes for you, and then we'll get started. We anticipate today's session will be somewhere around 45 minutes, depending on how many questions and all of that. We will take questions at the end. If you do have any questions, we don't monitor the chat feature during our webinars. We do use the Q&A feature. So if you look on your screen, you should see a Q&A button, and if you just add a question there, either we will save it till the end for us to answer out loud, or if it's something that either Jason or Kelly is able to answer as we go, they may send you a response in writing, so you know. And the recording will be shared within 48 hours. And with that, let's get started. If you aren't familiar with ERB or haven't joined us for a webinar in a while, we are a nonprofit educational insights organization. We've been serving schools around the world for 90 years. We believe in the power of unlocking every student's full potential with access to quality education for all learners, regardless of their background or circumstances. Our core belief is that assessments, data, and learning tools should be used equitably, not as a gatekeeper, but as a gateway to learning and growth. We celebrate the value and dignity of all, from students and their families to our employees and member schools. We work diligently to create tools for learning that are research-based and recognize the uniqueness of each student. We believe that information about student learning facilitates progress over time and is a valuable tool for unlocking potential because it helps identify strengths and areas for growth. With reliable data and valid interpretations, we can best support students' learning needs and aspirations. Our assessments and learning tools go beyond the traditional measures of academic performance to include an understanding of the student's sense of well-being and belonging, as well as the social emotional tools they use to navigate their environment. Today, we're going to focus on our writing programs, but please feel free to reach out to either Kelly, Jason, or I for information about any of our other programs. We offer two different writing programs that we're going to talk about today, WRAP and ERB writing. WRAP is our writing assessment program. It measures student writing achievement and allows teachers to pinpoint their students' strengths and weaknesses. It is supported by the WRIIT library, which is included with your annual membership. ERB writing offers students practice writing throughout the year. It provides instant feedback and uses individualized tools and lessons to support classroom instruction. If you would like more details or a demonstration of our writing programs, please feel free to reach out to Jason or Kelly or I. We are more than happy to help with that at any time. So with that, let's get started with ERB writing. Our writing practice program enables individual students to work on their writing skills at their own pace. It's guided by classroom instruction and provides individualized tools and lessons students need to improve their writing from anywhere. It is an updated version of WPP, if you are familiar with that program, and the updates that were included with this new program, a redesigned interface, the ability to self-roster, and tools for peer review, amongst other additions and upgrades. ERB writing is available for students in grades 3 through 8, and you can use the 500 provided prompts or add your own custom prompts. The genres that the prompts cover include argumentative, constructed response, informative, explanatory, and narrative. ERB writing uses the PEG scoring algorithm, which is the industry's most accurate automated scoring algorithm to assess student writing. PEG provides students with instant feedback so they can continue to practice and strengthen their writing skills. In a national study, PEG was found to be the most accurate of the top 3 leading automated scoring algorithms, and students who used PEG improvement in writing over those who did not. Here you can see the areas that PEG provides the feedback in: development of ideas, organization, style, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions, and just a couple of snapshots of the reports that you get that show the feedback in those areas. This is just an example of the feedback students receive. You can use this annotated feedback to continue, students can use this annotated feedback to continue to edit and improve their writing as they go. You can see that they're getting feedback immediately on things like spelling and grammar, suggestions of how to fix things that seem that they aren't correct, and other information here that's available, again, immediately as a student submits their work to the ERB writing platform. This program comes with actionable reporting. Once a student submits their work and it's scored, the teacher has access to a variety of actionable reports, including individual student feedback, class reports on specific traits, overall scores, and by genre, reports on usage by prompt and for lessons, monthly reports to show class progress overall and by individual traits, and the ability to assign and oversee peer reviews. ERB writing also comes with about 100 lessons, over 100 lessons that are available for you to supplement practice and instruction. They can be assigned by the teacher or suggested as feedback from submitted essays. The lessons are available in 8 categories at the beginning, intermediate, and advanced levels. Those lessons can easily be assigned. You are able to track student progress, and they can be completed in school or at home. So you have the option to assign these for homework, or if for some reason you have to return to a distance learning model, students would be able to log in and work both on their essays and the lessons from home. And again, you can get a sense of what that might look like with this little screenshot of the ERB writing program. I'm going to pass it over to Glenn, who's going to speak a little bit about the impact of ERB writing in the classroom.
Thank you, Lisa. And thanks everyone for attending today and spending a few minutes with us. So one of the most exciting aspects of ERB writing practice is that we have the research to demonstrate that it works. And so often at ERB, we are providing the baseline measure through our test scores or the follow-up measure after a school has defined and implemented an intervention of their own. And here, the ERB writing practice is the intervention. It's a formative program that also provides the measurement too. So we really love it. So far, 19 research studies on the impact or efficacy of writing practice have been published in peer-reviewed journals. That's a lot for such a program like this. And the results of the study presented on screen here are from a study of more than 800 middle school students who were learning writing in the argumentative genre. So just to kind of set this up a little bit, those 800 students were placed into one of 3 groups. There was a comparison group that received traditional writing instruction, and then there was an experimental group that received traditional writing instruction plus PEG writing practice. And then there was actually a second experimental group that received traditional writing instruction plus PEG writing practice plus instruction on self-regulated learning strategies that apply to writing. And I'll talk more about those in just a second. So all of the students wrote an initial essay that was scored by PEG. And then after 2 months, each group wrote a second essay that was also scored by PEG. And after statistically controlling for the students' initial writing ability and how often they used writing practice, the students who received the intervention with PEG writing scored 22% higher than those who received the traditional writing practice alone. That's just an enormous effect for a 2-month period. Kind of ironically, though, it's not uncommon to see big effects like that for formative programs. And the research on formative assessment has really shown that it can provide really demonstrable impacts for very low investment of in programming. In fact, if you're a teacher, you don't need any kind of programming to provide feedback to students and then adjust your teaching approach and ask students to adjust their learning approach based on the feedback that is provided. So on the next slide, we'll show you what happened when students received PEG writing and instruction on self-regulated learning strategies. These students actually scored 36% higher than those who received traditional writing practice alone. They also wrote longer essays, and in this argumentative genre, they gave a greater number of reasons and evidence to support the claims in their essay. So some of the self-regulation strategies that were taught to these students were things like setting goals, like I'm going to make my best effort to write 1 essay a week, or planning their writing. One of the features of ERB writing practice is we have all these graphic organizers that students can use to get their thinking organized in advance of writing. We know that good thinking leads to good writing. These students even did think aloud protocols, where they would say, before I begin writing, I have to identify the main idea that I want to make in my essay. And it seems a little unconventional, but it really does have a big impact. The point that I wanted to make is that it's really fantastic to actually have the evidence and the proof points that implementing ERB writing practice with fidelity results in these big learning gains. And if you want to learn more about this study, you can find out more on our website, erblearn.org, in our educator section. Within the writing area, we have a special section on writing practice. So back over to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Glenn. All right, and one last piece as we finish up on ERB writing. I think the final question we always want to know is, why use ERB writing practice? Educator who we had hoped could join us today, and unfortunately Bob wasn't able to be on, but we did want to share a piece of information from him, a piece of feedback he had given us. But here's what he had to say about our ERB writing practice. It's the Swiss Army knife. In the way you designed it, the only limitations of the tool are the limitations of the individual that wants to use it. Bob has been using WPP and now ERB writing for many years. I want to share that piece of feedback with the group. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and head over to WRAP, which is our writing assessment. So ERB writing would be the instructional piece that you use throughout the year, and WRAP is an assessment for writing that you might use typically at the end of the year, but either at the beginning of the end of the year to assess student writing rather than teach writing. WRAP was developed in collaboration with our member schools and writing experts, and it's administered across 5 grade level bands with higher performance expectations at each level. So there's the elementary for grades 3 and 4, intermediate for grades 5 and 6, middle for grades 7 and 8, secondary for grades 9 and 10, and college preparatory for grades 11 and 12. Since WRAP is hand scored, we have 3 seasons available for scoring, and those dates for this year are all materials received by November 18th will receive score reports by December 9th. All materials received by March 17th will have those score reports available by April 7th, and all materials received by June 2nd we will have those materials, the reports available for you by June 23rd. WRAP also has a number of genres and types of prompts. You can choose between narrative, informative, and argument opinion genres, and then stimulus or non-stimulus prompts in each of those genres. We use 6.6 trait rubrics for narrative, informative, and argument opinion as genres. Students receive a score for each trait as well as an overall score, allowing the teacher to easily understand strengths and weaknesses and target areas for improvement. We have an actionable reporting form so that you are able to access reports on individual student reports, criterion and norm reference data, links to annotated sample essays, roster reports, and class summaries once we've completed the scoring of your essays. This is an example of an individual student report. On this report, students receive a score for each trait as well as an overall score. You're also able to see how the score total compares to both independent and suburban norms. On the second page of that individual score report, you're able to see the rubric used to assess the writing to help you understand the skills the students should work on to improve their writing and score. You're also able to click on a link to see a sample essay that scored at the desired score for the selected trait. These sample essays can be used to help students understand what is needed to improve their writing. One option that many members don't know about is our WRIIT library. We've typically talked about it as being connected to the WRAP assessment. That's why we're talking about it now. But please know that everything I'm about to share with the WRIIT library is actually available to all member schools. It's included with your membership. So you are able to take advantage of this WRIIT library, whether you use WRAP or not. So again, it's designed to be correlated to WRAP, but it is available to everybody. You're welcome to log in at any time and use it. Before and after completing WRAP, you're able to use the WRIIT library to find tools for writing instruction that align to the assessment. These tools can also be easily integrated into classroom instruction already happening at your school. As I mentioned, as an ERB member, you already have access, so please feel free to log in and look through it. You can access the WRIIT library by visiting https://wriit.erblearn.org. We put this up here so you could jot that down. It is not linked on our homepage like many of our other portals, so definitely make a note if you're interested in this portal. That is how you access it. WRIIT has many resources to enhance WRAP, including rubrics, sample prompts, learning progressions, graphic organizers, lessons by trait and prompt, anchor charts, and anchor sets. Each of these is aligned to the same genres and types of prompts as WRAP, so you're able to cross-reference those two things pretty easily. This is just an example of a learning progression, so you can see what you're looking for in grade 5 with this learning progression for overall development and what would constitute each stage of that. So what you would need to add to progress through the stages. This is a sample of a lesson that is in the WRIIT library. Again, there are lessons at all levels covering all different topics. So this is just one piece of one example, but if you go in there, you'll be able to easily reference different lessons at different levels covering different topics in writing. And lastly, you can see here a few different ways that you can use the WRIIT library before and after the WRAP assessment. So you can, before writing, help students understand writing tasks and components, practice writing using a variety of genres and prompt types, study the structure of the prompts and ask students to create their own, or prepare your students to take WRAP by replicating WRAP procedures with many of the sample prompts that are in that library. After writing, you can use WRAP rubrics to evaluate and score essays that students have written. Have students evaluate their own writing using the rubric. Use data for collaborative discussions about student writing. Use data to target instructional focus for a trait or genre, and use the learning progressions to set goals for students. I am now going to introduce Jan White, who works at St. Patrick's School in Norfolk, Virginia, and she wanted to share a little bit about her school's experience with the WRIIT program. So we're going to give her a few minutes to share, and then we will take questions. So please do feel free to put any questions that you have in the Q&A, and I'm going to pass this over to Jen for a few moments and close out our slideshow. So please, any questions in the Q&A, and Jan, you are up.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are a member school for a number of years, and we have taught the writing process and the 6 traits approach to writing. And we were trying to find a way to get some feedback about how our students were performing in comparison to area independent schools or just independent schools. And we had been giving the ERB CTP at that time, I don't know if it was 3, 4, but the CTP, and that is a multiple choice of the writing. And so that was helpful information, but just not enough. So when we learned about WRIIT, we wanted to make the commitment and to use this assessment to get a little bit more information where the students are writing to a prompt and engaged in the process over 2 days' time. This would supplement the data that we got from the CTP and be helpful in writing conferences with students, as well as conversations with parents. The WRIIT library has also been a wonderful addition in these last few years, where it gives the rubrics and samples and lessons. So when we get the feedback from WRIIT, a couple of things that our teachers do, we use I think it's called the classroom analysis, to actively involve the teachers in looking at the data and breaking it down, and where are your top writers and where are those who are struggling? What trait is the most common area that needs support, and what trait is going really well? And once we look at it from a class perspective, then we have writing conferences with students and use the individual writing goals resource that's provided, and that becomes part of their writing folder and guides the instruction. And so once the results come back and we've done the data analysis, the students also may want to, based on their feedback, revise their writing even more, and it becomes a regular conversation with the teacher. So we have found WRIIT to be very helpful. We only give a couple of standardized tests, and that's one. And it helps guide the writing instruction in our school. We're able to tell you that mechanics is something that we're focusing on, and we're really strong in organization and with word choice. So it's nice to be able to identify the areas where we need some work and what we're doing well in. So that's been our experience for a number of years. Happy to take any questions as well.
Thank you so much, Jan. We really appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions, please do feel free to put them in the Q&A. That wraps up the presentation part. But again, any questions for Jan or Glenn or we're happy to address. And Glenn, I see one question here. Have the norms been updated since COVID?
It's a great question. Let me give a preface first. We have been updating norms for the ERBs or the CTP and milestones program as data have come in during, and I don't know, are we during or post-pandemic? And so what we've been doing is sort of having a mix of this pre and pandemic data informing the interpretations that we use for CTP and milestones. We haven't done that yet for WRIIT, but that's on the horizon. And the main reason is just we've deemed that there hasn't been enough new data to come in for us to kind of create those robust set of norms. But we know it's important to members, and we do have it on our list to do.
Awesome. Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate that. And I see a question that asks, what grades are you using this in? And I'm going to guess that that question is for you, Jan, because we talked about which grades the assessments were available in. So I believe that question might be for you.
We use the WRAP with grades 3 through 8. And in grades 3 and 4, we typically do the narrative, non-stimulus, and 5 and 6, informative writing, and then 7 and 8, argumentative.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's see what else we have here. Somebody would like to know when you, Jan, when you give the WRAP assessment. You're very popular. People always want to hear from other schools, so thank you for joining us, and keep your questions coming. But Jan, when do you guys give that?
Happy to share our experience. We like to give it in the fall. One reason is that we give the ERB CTP 5 in the spring, and that's just a lot for the students. We like to give it in the fall also because it can guide the instruction. So it's not, about compare their performance for the year. It's fresh, and we just find that it's very helpful. So we like to give it as early as possible in the fall so we can have the information guiding our writing instruction all before Thanksgiving break.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, like any assessment that we offer, frankly, there are cases for why you would administer it at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, formative or summative. So I appreciate that perspective, Jan, because schools use it both ways for sure. And so it's always interesting to hear about those experiences and how you're using it. I don't see any other questions here.
Can I ask Lisa, can I ask a question that I've heard from members before? Absolutely. And see if I can also answer it myself, and maybe others can chime in. So one of the things that that people who use ERB writing practice and WRAP notice is that the trait scores are not exactly overlapping between the program. And they said, well, why is there that difference in scoring between writing practice and WRAP? And I thought I'd take a minute to explain that when we created the WRAP scoring rubric, we were grounding it in National Council of Teachers of English standards for what reflects good writing in all these different genres. And then we did this really careful process of enumerating the rubric for every score point. So we're like really proud of that, and we love how that is a valid reflection of student writing when humans are scoring it. But with writing practice, remember, an algorithm is scoring it. And so what was so fascinating to me is when we're using automated scoring or AI technology, what's happening is the computer is processing the essays, and they're measuring different parts of the essay, like how long is your sentence, or how many 4-syllable words did you use? How often did you repeat a theme throughout your essay? And so what they're doing is they're kind of dimensionalizing performance in a little bit of a different way than we as educators define good writing. But at the end of the day, those writing practice trait scores are predicting the scores that human raters have given the essays. So it's just two different ways of arriving at the same solution that are both valid in a sense, but they're just a little different from each other. Hopefully that wasn't, too technical. Back to you, Lisa.
No, I think that's actually helpful. And I see a question here that is likely related, but is there a difference in scoring when the responses to the prompts are handwritten versus typed and then computer graded? I guess that's actually probably specific for WRAP. Now that I reread the question. So this was a question about difference between handwritten versus typed and all of that.
No, I guess I would say that our human raters who score WRAP essays are trained to try their best to not pay attention to handwriting and other things like that. So through our training, we're trying to make sure there's no difference between typed and handwritten essays.
Absolutely. Any other questions at all? I see a question here about where do I find WRAP to order it, which is a great question. We love that question. And if I can give me just one quick second, when you go ahead and let me share my screen with you, when you go to our website, you will see if you log in where it says welcome Lisa Stern. For me, of course, it would say welcome in your name for you. You can see portals for all of our programs except for the WRIIT Library. That was why I had you make a note of that address. But you can see the portals for all of our other programs here. So this is where you would find the WRAP portal. In terms of ordering, you are able to click on the ordering tab and should see the writing programs there, and you would be able to order WRAP there. You can also always reach out to Kelly or Jason or I, depending on which of us works with your school, and we're happy to help you with that ordering as well. But thank you for asking where to find it. We talked all about it and didn't tell you how to find it. Any other questions that we've missed? We'll give it one more minute and then we may wrap up a few minutes early, which is always a nice thing to gain a few minutes more. Well, it looks like that is all the questions that we have for today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and Jan for taking a few minutes out of your day to tell us about your experience with WRAP, and Glenn for joining us on our webinars. We always love having you. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to Jason, Kelly, and I. And please do join us in December. We will be doing our next webinar, and it is on using 360 access and reporting for CTP and milestones. So please do join us for that. Everybody always has tons of questions about 360 access, and we love to answer them. So look for more information in your mailboxes, and we can't wait to see you then. Thanks so much, everybody.
Have a great school year. Thank you.